Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of GameTales, that podcast show on which we talk for about an hour or so about whatever topic comes to mind. And today's topic is that of the Grand Theft Auto series. And I am again joined by my friend Stephen from the channel Stephen Nonsense. Hi, Stephen.
You're out of touch, I'm out of time. Da-na-na, dum dum da-na-na-na, now. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. So whenever I think about GTA, I think about that song, actually.
So from that I understand that you played a lot of GTA Vice City.
Yeah, I played a lot of GTA Vice City. I'm not sure why exactly that one. I think it has to do a lot with the timing of when it was released and my friends' computing capabilities, because I couldn't play it on my own PC. I played it at friends and neighbors, because I don't have that many strong memories of GTA 3.
Really?
Yeah, I think I played it, but I don't remember. I remember playing 1, I remember playing a lot of 2, and then for me it just skips to Vice City.
That's a really strange progression. Usually most people started with 3. Like 3 is the biggest one. Some people wonder, well, why is it called 3? There were no other games before it, right?
No. 3 is just the first one that's in the 3D realm.
Yeah.
But I wasn't at least GTA 2 really big in your neck of the woods also? Because where I lived, we played like GTA 2 in the net cafes and stuff.
Well, it wasn't really all that popular in net cafes because there was Counter-Strike to be had, and that's what everybody played in the net cafes mostly when it came to action games.
I mean, true, but it was available, and I played a lot of GTA 2 also, again, not on my computer because I couldn't. It wasn't by that time I had like either a 586 or a 486 because I went backwards.
Not to mention that GTA 2 was kind of a performance saga. It needed 4 megabytes of video memory. 4 megabytes, the goddamn
I know,
bastard.
man, just to have like a top-down design and fucking annoyance.
Sure, it had 16 million colors or something. They wouldn't just sell for 256 like the previous one did.
No, because they wanted mood and shadows and shade and
Jesus
light
saves
and light dynamics. Well, not dynamic light, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad. The explosions were cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I did play GTA 1 though, because that one, at a certain point, GTA 1 ran on one of my computers. So I played that quite a bit, but it wasn't. Neither 1 nor 2 made the lasting memory and impression that Vice City did.
Yeah, I can understand that from the theme, but what was your first contact with the series? Like, where did it start? Where did you see it first?
Oh, that one I've been trying to think about it, and I think I was just introduced to it in high school. I know for a fact that I played GTA 2 in high school. That's I'm sure that I'm not sure if I played it before that. So this means the entry time is like 2000 on the dot. That's when I went to high school. That's when I started high school. So I think about that. I think that's when I was introduced to GTA 2.
For me, it was there was a television show, a British one called Cybernet. It aired in Romania as well for quite a long time. The show in England aired for, I think, over a decade. It had a really long run, and one of the episodes was about Grand Theft Auto, and it just showed gameplay of it, where you were just running people over. It had the Gauranga in it, where you run over the Hare Krishnas, the cultists.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful to see computer games being played on the TV back then, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
It was like such a new weird thing, and now it's like its own sub niche of entertainment.
Yeah, but back then there was a thing not related to GTA, but there were the Hugo games. And they were always shown on
Yeah,
Turkish and Portuguese.
Bulgarian. I think it was. Oh, I mean, yeah, might have been. Yeah,
I saw it on some Turkish and Portuguese television stations where kids would call in and they would play a game via their phone with tremendous lag. But they would play it through the phone with just simple commands of move left, right. It was sort of a platformer type of thing. And it was really hard to play. Like most of them couldn't get like more than 1 minute in. But it was some experience. It was
yeah.
it was cloud gaming before it was cool.
That was the equivalent of doing a stream now and asking the viewers, what should I say or what should I do here, left or right.
Hmm.
But back to GTA. So you had prior knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
I was just introduced cold to it, I guess.
The moment I saw it, I know I had to play it, but back then, in I think it was 99, I did not have a computer or access to one at all.
Yeah,
It
sure.
wasn't until 2002 that I got a CD-ROM so that I could actually get the GTA and play it. And I played it a lot. Like, I finished it once, but
Which
what-
GTA are we talking about?
the first one, GTA 1,
Okay, one. Okay, good.
it was really hard to finish because the game doesn't really have a save game function. So when you're in a city, you have to do all the missions and never fail any one of them. Because if you fail one, you break the chain of stories and you can't progress. But it was like a really super experience because this was about committing crimes and sort of atrocities. Now that I think about it, you had bombings, you had rampages. It was the kind of game I should probably have not been playing in my young and very, very impressionable age. But I don't think people older would have enjoyed it more than I would have back then. Like, it's a game that's not meant for kids, but it's made for kids.
Yeah, obviously, and all of that crazy stuff has it spawned a lot of controversy around the GTA series, which started with the first one. Actually, it started with the first one, so and so, and then it got blown out of proportion from the third one onward. But yeah, if you think about it, it's horrible violence going
Yeah.
on. But I always considered it to be the equivalent of cartoon violence, because everything happening there is so over the top and insane.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's a mission we have to escort. I think it was the mayor or deputy mayor of, I think it was Vice City, and she's in a limo with somebody else. And if that limo blows up, there's a line of dialogue that says, "Well, she almost bit off the guy's dick and choked on it."
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I played that sort of a mission. Yeah, but again, starting with the 3D ones, the argument could be made that because the models were for the time realistic, although looking back at them now, you're like, whoa, this is like Minecraft shit. Yeah, the argument could be made, and was made back then, that the violence is much more is that more worse, I guess, because it looks realistic. But at least in terms of the first two, it was always very, very cartoony violence level for me. I
And
remember
it was top down, so you couldn't really see all that much.
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite things to do in the first one was to get a
bus.
No. I would get a gas.
A
What do you call
flamethrower.
it? No, not the flamethrower. Like the huge cars that transport gas.
Tankers. The
Gas
tankers.
Okay, I'll get a gas tanker and block a major route with it, and then I would park cars near it, and then I would blow that up, so it blew up all of the cars around it, just to get like insane points.
What I like was to take a school bus, because the school bus, although it was really slow at first, if you went in a straight line, it would accelerate to probably the highest speed in the game for some reason. and you could just smash through everything in that one. There was nothing in your path that could stop you.
You know what I
Just
liked?
randomly
I like
release.
the school bus, or just the bus in the second one. I'm not sure if this was a feature in the first one, but in the second one, if I'm not mistaken, you could stop in the bus stations and people would get on and off the bus.
Yeah, and you could drive them into the water. It was in the first one as well.
Okay. So that was just like that was a piece of realism
Yeah.
that you wouldn't really find in other games. And when it came to the 3D ones, I sometimes enjoyed playing them and not do anything bad. Like I would stop at the red light sign. I would properly go make my turns and whatnot. I would just it was like the
pacifist run.
yeah, a way of increasing the challenge by actually not doing anything illegal whilst going around the missions.
Out of curiosity, when you played GTA 1, did you ever happen to accidentally fall underground? Because it used to happen to me nonstop if I got too close to buildings.
I can't remember, man. This was quite a while ago, and yeah, like I told you, the first one didn't really imprint in my psyche that much. I can't really say.
I think there was a bug in the game where if you got close to some buildings, or if you went into a building for a mission and then came out, you would somehow end up underground, because you would still see the street, but your character wasn't there. He was under the road. Nobody could shoot you. You were invulnerable, completely invulnerable, but you couldn't really do any more missions, so you got stuck.
Kind of useless. Yeah, no, I do remember. I think I remember in the second one some similar bugs again, with like not being able to go into some buildings, or things bugging out and glitching and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't play the first one for that much.
Also, love the first one.
Even if I did, no memories.
I love the first one trying to get to places where I shouldn't be, with cars and with motorcycles, just hopping around buildings.
Yeah, I think we all tried to do that with all of the games as much as possible. Actually, that was our a goal, a separate goal. You know, nowadays that would be like a Steam achievement.
Yeah,
but back then it was just like a personal achievement.
And in other games, in later years, that would be a world hack, if you will, a way to circumvent the game's limits to gain some advantage. Like example, in Gothic, you could technically climb trees if you wanted to, if you really tried to get rid of the orcs chasing you.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Well, there's a difference, I guess. You could call it that. Or you could also call it the beginnings of the concept of emergent gameplay.
Yeah, or some really, really creative form of parkour where we're not supposed to do parkour.
Glitchy parkour. Yeah. Could happen. You know, it's a back then. Again, back then there wasn't really the concept of
free running. Yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, technically, there was sort of a bit of it in Ultima 8, but not intentionally.
Wait, let me remember. So Ultima 8 is pagan?
Pagan, the isometric one. You could run around and climb on buildings and stuff.
Yeah, that one, no. That was for different reasons, unfortunately.
Yeah, I played the version that didn't have the patch that made the stones stop disappearing, and I never finished it, and I hated it because of it.
Yeah, I think that was the least of that would have been the least of the problems with that title.
It was one of the major ones, honestly. The stones always vanishing. That whole
it was literally game breaking. Sure, but the amount of that game was compared to what it just.
Well, to be fair, I mean they had a quarter of time to make the actual game because they spent half the time making the technology, and then they were told they have half the time left of the initial time to make the game, and they basically did not have any time to finish it. That's why they made an expansion that EA never released. And speaking of expansions, Did you play the GTA London 1969 expansion?
No, no. You mentioned it earlier, and off mic, and I don't actually have a memory of GTA London existing, to be honest. Even though the first GTA, I mean the devs were British.
Yep. It is the
So
only game in the series to be set in jolly old England.
cheerio, pip pip.
What ho? It would be like a very, very good opportunity to go back there in the next game. I mean, they've already done, well, they could do Vice City next, but they could do London.
So
Just
they
saying.
would do what, Vice City in the 90s or what, or in the current time?
Vice City in the 70s.
They would go even back more.
Yeah, because Tommy Vercetti was kind of a 70s guy, wasn't he?
Well, not really. Well, like Vice City was almost exclusively an 80s thing, a mid 80s thing. Everything about that game is mid 80s.
So, or am I thinking of the lawyer? There was some guy in the game that sort of had a 70s vibe that was sort of didn't fit in the 80s vibe of the world.
Yeah, the lawyer was a bit more of that. Or you're thinking of the other gangsters like Sonny and the other people who were much more
Possibly.
of a 70s sort of gangster, how you would imagine basically De Niro in Goodfellas and stuff like that. Yeah, those guys were. But the game itself, it's a wonderful love letter to the 80s, both in terms of style, aesthetic, especially music, as well as, and most evident, the excess of the 80s.
Yeah, we'll get to talk more about it soon. But first, let's move on to GTA 2, the game that you played quite a lot, and I
Yeah.
played almost none of it because of that darn memory limitation.
Yeah, I didn't play it on my computer. Thankfully, I had neighbors and friends who were a bit more well off financially. And I did get to play it quite a bit. And in that one, the flamethrower was one of my favorite ones, because I would just used to stay like in the middle of something and just basically start firing, and then do like a tiny circle around myself and just set people on fire, set the Elvises on fire. It was super funny to set the Elvises on fire. But also it was interesting to get as many cops on your tail as possible, and then this was basically how we played it. We would do some outlandish shit to get as many cops on us as possible, and then try to evade them and get to a paint shop to get that the warning level reduced. So that's basically how we played the game. We didn't necessarily follow the story or the mission, but because we played it like a party group sort of thing. So that's how I remember playing a lot of GTA 2.
Well, the game was more advanced than the first one because it did have a faction system with reputations in it.
It did also from a graphic standpoint, it was quite the upgrade from the first one.
Yeah, it had a more of a style to it. Like the cars are a bit more rounded, more I wouldn't say Art Nouveau, but it's sort of like Cadillac 70s style, like 50 style cars. Sort of look a bit.
I think they just afforded, or the technology was that it allowed them to make better looking sprites and whatnot.
Yeah, I remember them looking a bit more rounded. Like
they did, but I think that's mostly because of resolution, basically.
Probably.
They could just make.
Speaking of the cars, what was your favorite car? Mine was the Porca Turbo.
I can't really tell you. I don't remember. I would just I would like to take the ice cream trucks though.
Oh, they were nice.
I always enjoyed those, and then get in a bit of a code and get the tanks and mess around with the tanks for a while, that sort of stuff.
Did GTA 2 have multiplayer mode? I think it had, didn't it?
even if it did, that wasn't a possibility back then for us. So neither LAN or anything else. So even if it did, I imagine it could have and it should have. It would have been pretty goddamn cool, actually, thinking back.
I say this because there's a game on Steam that I made a show about a while ago called Street Arena 2 or something that is basically the multiplayer mode of GTA 2.
Okay.
But it's standalone. I think me and the dev were probably the only ones playing it when it came out. I'm not sure if it's populated anymore. But it was a nice game.
Well, nowadays, if you want to play something with cars in a multiplayer thing, I think a lot of people play Rocket League.
Yeah.
And what's the online one? Is it the latest GTA that they play it a lot?
Yeah, GTA Online is pretty much the de facto online game with cars and shooting people.
Yeah.
So moving on to the third one. Now, this was the big one, the head honcho of the series. It was the bestseller of that year and the second bestseller of the next year because the first one was Vice City. It's a game that sold more copies than... it sold over 14 million copies since 2001. Now, considering that it's been replaced by 6 other games since then, it's got an achievement.
It is, and it was... it's something that we tend to forget, but there's a lot of gaming industry people who consider the impact of GTA 3 to be almost equal to that of Doom.
Yeah, it just changed everything. Like there were
changed the landscape.
Yeah, there were these types of games. There was Driver 2 before it that did sort of the open world, the steel cars thing, but nothing to this scale was before it. Nothing with this detail, with this fidelity, with this ease of play and fluidity to it. Because the game just worked. They just ran perfectly.
And it spawned its own subgenre of clones.
Yeah, of crime-themed open world steel car.
Which is what Doom did, spawning the well-known subgenre of Doom clones.
Mm-hmm.
So and if you go back in time, after GTA 3, basically most games had to have like the protagonist in that third-person type of view. And he or she should be running around and doing some nefarious shit if you wanted the game to sell. Of course, it's not like they invented it, because hell, Lara Croft was doing that long before. But Lara Croft wasn't jacking rides and killing hookers either. So
she may do in the next reboot.
Maybe, then that's totally fine. But we're talking about when was the third one released?
2001, October. They delayed it because they had to make the cars in the game not look like the ones from New York, the cop cars. Because there was the 9/11 thing.
Yes,
also, they removed some bits of gameplay that were kind of a bit too terrorist in nature. So they toned down some bits.
Makes sense, especially for that period of time following.
It was a difficult time, like really rough. I'm actually surprised they managed to release it then with the kind of game it is. That's
true. But they did, and it was it changed the landscape it's still, you could consider that the consequences, the repercussions we still see them now, because the entire GTA franchise is one of the best, one of the most
it's the biggest seller. It's the biggest seller.
Profitable gaming franchises in history. And also to our console exclusively players, we won't be talking about, apparently, because doing a bit of research, there were some console exclusive titles. Yeah, there was actually episodes for Liberty City, I think, is on PC these days as well, though I'm not sure about that. And there's Chinatown Wars, which was exclusive to mobile versions, to not Game Boy, or was it? Game Boy Advanced, maybe?
Oh, PSP, PSP.
Okay. So we can't really talk about those because we are a PC. Well, we come from a PC wielding nation in general.
Liberty City Stories is still exclusive to PlayStation 2 and PSP. Episodes from Liberty City is on PC as well.
Okay. Well, again, there's a couple of titles that we won't be able to talk about.
But we can talk about GTA 3. At least I can talk about GTA 3 all night long.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm pretty sure I played it, but I don't know. I don't know what happened in in my region, in my town, in my neighborhood, let's say, growing up and with my friends, because I don't really remember. I don't remember playing it a lot. I do remember Vice City a lot. So I don't know exactly why. Maybe it was the music. I'm not sure. Maybe it was some other sort of circumstance, like, I don't know, maybe in time for Vice City, my friends got upgraded computers, and that's when they could play it. I'm not sure. It could have been the second one as well, but I don't remember playing the third one, as it were.
Well, around here it was a bit like when that guy in high school got the CD for it, everybody started to install it.
Of course.
What amazed us is that it fit on the CD in 300 megabytes. It was the first game, I think the first game we saw archived with UHARC, which was a really advanced archiving system that it took like about 2 hours to actually decompress, to expand it on my Pentium 2 with 350 megahertz.
Yeah.
But all the game was, I thought all the game was there. Like there were no cinematics missing because cinematics were the first thing to go in most games. But all the cutscenes were there, all the voices were there. I thought everything was there, but there weren't any radio stations, sadly. So I played it without radio stations, but it did have the MP3 folder where you could put all your music. And I put all my music there, and there was, you know the band Voltage, right?
Yes.
They have a song that goes something like this, Am se trec și peste asta ceva fi va fi, which means I'll get over this, what will be. But that also has the meaning of I'm going to run over somebody, what will be. And whenever that lyric came on, I ran over somebody. It was just so poetic.
That's not something I would share with the internet, but okay, that's fine.
Voltage is cool. They used to be cool. I haven't listened to
that literally never happened.
There was a time for Voltage to be cool.
They had one song that was an innuendo joke song, which is the only good song they ever made.
The one with the bee?
That was their first song. Yeah, that was the first song.
They also made a lot of adaptations of foreign songs, but okay, that's besides the point. I played GTA 3 a lot, and I mean, I finished it like 4 times.
Well, you had the capable computer.
Yeah, I had a video card that was surprisingly compatible with the game because the SIS 315 usually had some troubles with some games. It could not run. It could run Warcraft 3, but the screen would be black, and I couldn't see anything. I finished the first mission in Warcraft 3 blind. I could only see lighting effects. Like I could see the waypoint where I had to go to, and the interface, nothing else.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because the first mission is just a click, go here, click, go there. I remember finally getting to play Warcraft 3 on my own computer, which could run it at that time. Wonderful. Anyway, that's a different episode.
We'll get to that soon one day. As I was saying, I finished it a bunch of times. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed finding new ways in which I could do things. I love the freedom it gave you to complete missions. Like when you were supposed to kill the mob boss that first hires you, there were a bunch of ways you could do it. I just parked the car like a bit downhill from where he comes out of the club. I stood on the car with a sniper rifle, shot him the moment he came up, and drove away. Like I think they intended it to be some sort of a car chase or something, but no, you could just do something stupid like that and get away with it.
So basically you Hitman did.
Yeah, I was Hitmaning before Hitman, which was cool.
Sure. See, that is emerging gameplay.
Yeah, I finished, like I said, I think 4 times, and the last time I did it, I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna do this pro level, meaning I do not get killed. I do not get arrested. I find every package. I do every mission. I got the London type taxi, the small, I think it's actually not London, the small New York type taxi because I did the 100 taxi missions. I got the health boost because I made the missions with the ambulance, the armor. I think it was the armor because you the mission with the cars, the cop cars. I did every mission and I was 98 secret packages in, and I could not find the last two. I searched everywhere, and I did like everything I could to cheese my way through the game. The races, I had trouble with the races, the blink, blink, scramble, and the other stuff from El Burro. So I noticed something that the cars in the game, they don't really have weight. You can push them. I pushed the car for a race, like to the point where I was right in front of the finish line. Got in. It told me, okay, start the race, finish it. Record time.
Okay.
I flew the Dodo over the water to get into my garage. I drove it once, like through the town, to get it to the garage the first time.
You really love the game then.
Yeah, I was flying with the tank because you can use, if you turn on the gravity hack, you can use the turret as propellant, and you can fly around the tank.
Okay.
It's just so fun, so enjoyable. I kept as many of the cars as I could. There's a bulletproof Humvee that you get as a reward for helping a corrupt cop leave the city, and I kept that through to the final missions because they were a breeze with it. I would just stay in the car and just move everybody down because nobody could shoot me.
Nice. Great idea. Great tactical playing there.
Yeah, it kind of bugs me because like in GTA 5, you don't really get to keep a lot of the cars you find around. You mostly have the car that's default to that character. It's kind of annoying.
I don't know, but collecting cars was a thing I enjoyed doing, and so it was always an annoyance when after loading they weren't always, because sometimes they would glitch or they would bug out and just not be where I parked them.
And because of number limitations, you would be in situations where you would need a car and there were none on the road. Like the game would not spawn any cars. But
I do remember having to run on the motorway for no fuck all reason, and like, what the fuck is this? The ghost town? What the shit?
But if you were in a Banshee, suddenly every car on the road was a Banshee.
Okay.
Because it just took the car you were driving, because it was in memory already, and pasted it everywhere. That's how it ran so well. Well, unless you activated the motion board. It had an implementation of motion board that was kind of horrible. Like really bad. And there's an ice cream truck in the game too. It shows up twice, once in a mission. And you have a side mission to collect it for a collector, and then you can use it whenever you want to. But if you take it from that mission to the collector, you fail that mission. However, I found one. I found one by driving like a maniac and just having accidents all over the place. And I just stumbled into the only ice cream truck I ever saw outside the bombing mission. I had no idea you could actually spawn outside of it until I saw it.
Back then, they would have to optimize their rendering as much as possible. So you imagine something like an ice cream truck that doesn't look like anything else would be a pain to generate.
I keep trying to find places I wasn't allowed to get into. I kept trying to go in through the tunnel that was at the end of the city that would proposally take you to a place in the game that you're not supposed to see some cut content, but I never got there. I think you can actually get there. I tried to get to the statue, and I crashed the Dodo into it several times. It was fun. And while I was playing, I kept imagining, man, this would be great with multiplayer, wouldn't it be? I mean, you could have your own criminal gang that you could run and have do heists and criminal activities against other gangs run by other players. And that sort of almost kind of materialized initially with, I think it was Sleeping Dogs' a spin-off multiplayer that got shut down, and then with GTA Online, but GTA Online turned out not be that. It sort of turned out to be a griefing fest that's powered by microtransactions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always you could have the best of intentions, and a dev could have the best of intentions, but the internet will usually find a way of ruining even the most gracious of intentions.
No, they had the intention of selling you shark cards in GTA Online and not give you any. Like GTA Online
I'm
is
not talking. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your idea. Even if your idea would be implemented as you thought it, the internet would find a way to shit on it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, at least it would be implemented. I mean, we wouldn't get GTA Online where, GTA stands for Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But in that game where you could pay $1 million to fire an orbital laser at the city and kill everybody down there, driving a Banshee is considered a no-no because the car is too hot. You cannot keep it.
Okay.
The cops will be on you. If I think the store that you probably previously fired an orbital cannon at doesn't want to remove the GPS tracker from it, so you can keep it.
Yeah, but apparently the Helios level power of lasers not that much of an issue.
Yeah, apparently everybody's doing it, so it's not an issue. So, like I said, I really super duper obsessively played GTA 3 for like a year or two. I think I still have some of the save games. I put them onto a CD when I had Windows 98, but I put them as a second session. And Windows 98 cannot recognize second session. So for years I thought those saves were lost. Turns out they're not. They're still there.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So moving on to your favorite.
You might have to make a. Sorry, I might have to dig those out and make a retro play now of it or something.
I probably will. So moving on to Vice City, which was your favorite?
Yes, it was.
Take it away.
Vice City, I liked it. Again, didn't play it on my computer, but I enjoyed it a lot because of the music. Now, the game itself is pretty awesome. The story is quite interesting. It's it takes a lot of cues from Scarface. Well, technically speaking, it's the Al Pacino movie is a remake of Scarface. The original Scarface is a movie from like the 40s, I think, or even earlier, or the 50s. No, 30s, 40s. But I enjoyed it that it was also very funny. It was this serious sort of. I mean, there's violence and shit. But then there is also your sort of partner, your African American partner. They're all wearing those Miami Vice shoulder padded, brightly eye-gougingly colored suits, and his name is Lance Vance,
and he loves to dance.
Yeah, and in that motorboat mission, which I think is the first time you either meet him or you have a mission with him, he says, "It's time for the Lance Vance dance." And I'm like, holy shit, this is funny.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lance Vance dance has been in my head ever since. But then there was the actual music. The fact that you had the radio stations and each of them had their own niche, which again, that's something that used to be happen in the 80s in America, but in the 90s that kind of started dying off because of some political bullshit that happened, and companies were able to consolidate and actually purchase more radio stations than they were allowed to by then legally. And that's, obviously giant corporations could get even larger, and that's why the radio plays the same shit basically.
Mm-hmm.
But back then in the 80s it wasn't like that.
And also you had the talk radios, which this was the game that I actually had proper audio for, and the radio stations with chat on them just blew me away. Amy Scheckelhauser's show where she interviews Thor, that just blew my mind. It is still one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
There's a bunch of funny. I think there was one with there is something with like a wife and a husband. They're having marital problems and something happens. But it was a lot about the music for me, because it had a lot of the game was that is literally set in the 80s. You can see them in the cutscenes there were a lot of cutscenes, there was a lot of dialogue, but the voices were actual in many cases were super duper actors, things like Ray Liotta and stuff.
Yeah.
Like also Ray Liotta, well known for playing a gangster also, and in that really shitty Uwe Boll movie that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
So the voice acting is great. The cutscenes, I think if you stick the cutscenes together, you could get like a decent ass movie, because it's not high art we're talking here about, but it is funny. It is interesting. I remember seeing them use those brick cell phones, talking on those giant Motorola type brick cell phones. So that's always funny.
Also, Love Fest, the band.
Yeah, and the music was great, especially all of those 80s. I think Vice City was the moment in my lifetime where it crystallized in my mind and in my conscience that I really love 80s music. And because I grew up with it, I'm pretty sure as you did. But it brought to the forefront, like the hits, the Billie Jeans, the song I started the podcast with, and a bunch of others. Was there a Billie Idol song in there? I'm not sure.
Probably yes.
I can't really. I'm gonna look up the playlist. So those were really, really fun days and evenings / nights playing the game, and literally just riding in the car, driving in the car, listening to the radio. And I wouldn't actually get out of the car until the song ended, because I didn't want to interrupt the song.
Nope, no Billie Jean, no Billie Idol.
No Billie Idol. Okay, no, I just weird random thought of mine. Probably I added that in because I wanted to make a more comprehensive 80s music playlist. And as far as I'm concerned, Billie Idol has to be on a comprehensive 80s playlist. And it was fun. It was over the top. Again, the violence was more it was realistic, sure-ish. But on the other hand, you could also do all kinds of crazy shit, like have a bazooka or start cutting up people with katanas on the street.
And chainsaws.
Although the chainsaw is a reference to Scarface again, / Doom. But yeah, and also, oddly enough, whenever I think about the game, I think about the protagonist, you wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Mm-hmm. That's his default getup.
So yeah, there's that, and there's the song and the color neon pink.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I think about GTA, I think about Vice City first, then the song, and then neon pink, because that was a pretty present color, let's say. I do remember that bikes weren't that well implemented in GTA Vice City. I mean,
you couldn't flip with them, because if you did, you would fall off them.
But in general, they weren't that fun to ride / drive.
You'd mostly hit something and fly off them.
Yeah.
But you could climb upstairs with them.
As opposed to Vice City, San Andreas, where I actually preferred using bikes. But we'll get to that as well. Mm-hmm. What's your take on Vice City?
Well, I had a 2 CD version of this that had all the music, all the radio. I spent most time listening to the talk radios because I just was fascinated with them. And because you could only listen to them in cars, I would never get the complete version of it. So I would mostly listen to the chat radios, and they would be unlocked as time progressed. So I didn't actually spend that much time listening to the music in game, sadly. I also had my MP3 list, which I really liked from the previous game. I played it for quite a lot. I really liked the options you now had with your with the missions. That when you started out, you didn't earn thousands of dollars like you used to in the previous game. You earned hundreds. You needed a screwdriver to open like a car to jack it. You could change your clothes. You didn't have a mod option in the menu to change your skin. You could actually change your clothes. That was a novelty. And you could also buy property, and the property bit sort of sabotaged me in a way because there was a point in the game where I wasn't getting any more missions, and I didn't know why. Turns out you had to buy a certain number of properties in town to continue the story. I glossed over that somehow and never finished the game because of that.
Probably at a certain point you forgot.
Yeah.
That you had to do that.
It's probably because I still have my mind on some missions like the ones with the tiny helicopter. Remember?
Oh man, that one was so difficult.
Yeah.
Holy
so
shit!
Annoying.
That was because you had the time, limit, and that helicopter was shit to maneuver.
That thing took so many days to complete.
It was really really annoying, but again, didn't take away from the crazy coolness of the game at large.
You actually had an actual plane that you could fly with actual wings on it. The hydroplane. You had There was a mission to drop leaflets of what was her name? Candy Sucks.
Candy Sucks.
Yeah, to drop leaflets with her. Oh, I just remembered. There were Elvises in GTA 2, and there was the zombie Elvis found the newspaper in GTA 3 everywhere. And
I think there's some impersonators in Vice City.
Yeah, I think there may be.
I think I've seen some people dressed as Elvis. I'm not sure. I might be just making shit up.
Not sure, honestly. It's been a while since I played it. It's the one I've probably played the least of the 3D series. Oh, no, the second least of the 3D series. But I still played it for several months to the point where I got to play it.
Yeah, so check out some of these songs, some of these artists / songs that are just, and I think they could only get them because back then the music industry wasn't aware of how much money games can make. And granted, back then games didn't make, the insane amounts of money they do now. But there's some crazy classics here, like Twisted Sisters, I Wanna Rock. There's Slayer's Raining Blood. There is 2 Minutes to Midnight from Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And then we move into the other genres, and there is Kool and the Gang. I think there's a Run DMC song around here. There's an In Excess. There's, not to mention the Billie Jean as well. So the Two Life Crew, which again, some people might not know of it, but hardcore hip hop / rap fans will know what I'm talking about. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, The Message, which is a watershed point for hip hop in general. Anyway, now I'm gonna going into something different now. But yeah, Vice City, man, that would, if they would remake that, I think they would remaster. I think they'd have to literally remake it from scratch. I think that would sell way more than they imagine.
Especially because it came out before the 80s nostalgia craze sort of set in.
For one, I
think it may be one of the reasons why it started in the first place.
Well, it's a possibility because, like I said, that's what made me realize that I really dig 80s tunes. But it simmered for a while. But no, I'm thinking it would be successful on the one side, what you said, for like the mainstream audience, but for the same reason that particular Kickstarters are successful now for games, for things like city builders or adventure games that haven't been seen in, 15 to 20 years, which is that the kids playing those games back then now are in their 30s and they can afford to buy whatever it is they want. And it's been 16 years since Vice City was released. So it would also be like a great from a time synchronization point of view, because like I lost interest in playing GTA after San Andreas, but if they release a modern engine Vice City, I will play that motherfucker.
I think everybody will. GTA is sort of, if you want something to sell, name it GTA and you will sell billions.
Yeah, but that's just the thing, because it's not. I'm talking about this product in particular because it will bring back a lot of people, such as myself, who have no more interest in playing the franchise or have just lost connection. But if they see that, they'll be back, like in a big bad way.
You would want it to be a straight up remake, not a continuation of it?
Oh, yeah, it depends how you. If it's still in the important thing is for it to still be in the 80s. That's the main shtick. I don't know how many people will remember what happened in the first one, to be honest.
And
For it to have in Vice City, for it to have like a reason to be a sequel. So I don't know. They could take it or leave it, but there was something about those characters in particular and how they were written and how they interact with each other and that sort of stuff that I don't know if they can do that again to that level. See, they could approach it from a different perspective, maybe. I don't know. Thinking about it, but the mob was big there. Maybe Russian. I don't know.
Like, kind of sort of semi did Russian with the fourth one. It was sort of vaguely Serbian, at least.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm sure you're right. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if a sequel would still work for sure, but I'm just saying that the remake would definitely work.
Well, hopefully, we'll see Vice City return because we've had the other cities in the HD universe, if you will, but not Vice City yet.
Really?
Well, we had Liberty City in 4 and San Andreas in 5.
So they went back to them in a weird order then. Okay, that's interesting. Maybe if you see, I like I said, after San Andreas, I'm not interested in playing GTA anymore. But if Vice City comes back, I might be interested. But on the other hand, if it's not Vice City in the 80s, if it's in the 90s, I would still be down with that. But otherwise, no. The idea behind this episode came from a recent article I saw on the net that said that so if you were to make a quote unquote retro music Vice now, the music would be the music from 2002.
Which was when Vice City came out.
Yes, because it's been 16 years, and when Vice City came out, the music was from 1980. I don't know. I mean, from the 80s, 16 years back, basically, from the mid 80s. And I really wouldn't want that, to be honest, because I grew up. I was a teenager back then, so I'm very familiar with the music of the era, and I wasn't a big fan of it then either.
So you still don't like Voltage?
No. I've always I still like the 80s and the 90s. 2000s not so much.
Well, 2000s gave us, well, Eminem was in the 90s as well.
Yeah, no, he started in the 90s. That's neither here. Yeah, sure. There's a bunch of cool bands and stuff that happened in 2000. I'm not poo-pooing the entire decade. Just most of it.
A lot of it was that kind of pop Disney
bubblegum crap. Yeah. So if it's Vice City in the 2000s, that's a hard no. That's a negatory, buddy. If it's Vice City in the 90s, I'll go down. I'll be with that. That'll be cool. 70s, I'm also gonna go with the 70s, man. 60s, 70s. That could also be cool.
If they make it in the 90s, it's gonna have to be the late 90s because they've already done the early 90s with the next game, San Andreas.
Yes. I also play San Andreas quite a bit. But they did do the 90s, but they did it from a different perspective. They did it from the emerging culture of hip hop. And I really enjoyed San Andreas quite a bit. I would have played it more than I actually did, but the problem I had was that my computer at the time was really trying to run San Andreas, and I could deal with it being stuttery here and there, and just playing it on super low and doing some other things to make it run. But at a certain point, there's a mission in which you have to win a race.
There's plenty of them.
A car race. Well, I'm just talking about. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's the first one or there's one in particular I'm talking about. I can't really give you any details. This was a long time ago. Problem is, due to the computer not being up to snuff, it would stutter, especially when I was supposed to be cornering. So I would always lose the race. And at a certain point, there was no way of advancing the story without winning that race. So unfortunately, because the computer couldn't handle it. But I do remember. I remember a lot of things about it. I remember OG Loke and
Big Smoke.
and going to the gym and getting buff. And what else? Obviously, the now well-known controversy of the
hot coffee.
Yeah, sort of hidden, but not really, but not accessible, not easily accessible sex minigame. And also the fact that bikes were really cool in the game. I could actually use them. They had weight to them. They had stability. They were fine.
Yeah, speaking of bikes, like the other day, there were some kids riding their bikes outside my window, and they had a Bluetooth speaker on the bikes, and it was playing the San Andreas intro music.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a thing, but people do it apparently.
Well, if you think about it, I'd probably do it if I was that age also. That makes a certain amount of sense. If you're a kid, I mean. On the other hand, even if you're an adult. Anyway, that's a different discussion. So much so that I actually prefer getting bikes and getting the choppers, and I would just hop on a bike and start driving through town, through the city. Just not doing anything, just relaxing. I was, how some people go for a drive to relax, like in real life. I would go for a drive or a ride in the San Andreas in order to chill out, whatever, relax, listening to tunes, that sort of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't play that. I couldn't play that as much as I wanted due to the computer not being capable of running it. And by the time I got the capable computer, GTA just wasn't a thing for me anymore, unfortunately. How about you?
Well, when I first got the game from a friend on several CDs that may or may not have been actual legal copies of the game, I still had my Pentium 2, which sort of could not run the game at all because it only had 128 megabytes of memory. The game needed 256, so I did not play it for, I think, when it came out, 2004? So I did not play it until 2006 when I got my new PC, which could run it at max settings because by then it was an old game. It had no issues running it, even with anti-aliasing active.
Maybe I should make some GTA-themed videos, actually.
Actually, GTA San Andreas was the first game I actually started making videos of.
Oh, okay. So then the GTA series is quite big in your personal history as well.
Sort of, because my video card, an Asus 6600LE, which was a mid to low-end card, but for GTA it worked perfectly, came with a program called Asus Screen Capture that let me capture videos of the in-game screen. Now, for it to run properly, like at a playable frame rate, I had to make the captures at 300 by 200, and the Asus logo would occupy half the screen, but I would make videos of me just floating over bridges, like with the jets, making like all sorts of cool tricks. And then I saw what people were doing on YouTube and decided, okay, I'm not gonna put my stuff there because it's shit compared to what other people are doing. I really enjoy the game. Like in terms of story, I think it's the best one because it has like the most character growth for the people involved. It's the one that actually felt like they're trying to do something, like to say something.
Yeah, I hear you because Vice City always. That's one of the reasons I enjoyed Vice City and always considered this violence to be not that serious is because all of the characters were kind of like caricatures, actually, of what we saw in gangster movies. But the San Andreas lot, they were much more down to earth, if you can say that about
a game where you raid Area 51 and get a jetpack. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I totally see what you say.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think that San Andreas is the best game of the series. It's the most complex. It's the most complete of them all, I would say. It's got a bit of everything, and it does everything well. You have the territory control part of the game where you have to fight with your gang for land, which sort of builds into the idea of building that MMO with crime that I was saying about earlier.
Yeah.
It still has the touches that GTA has, like doing super duper crazy stunts and getting money for them, which is something later games sort of dropped because you're not given money anymore for doing stunts.
Don't forget about the hookers.
Yeah, the hookers. You could always have hookers. You could go on dates now. Yeah, even though the hot coffee month, you could go on dates, and some of your dates would want to do things like go for a drive-by. Okay, people bond over different things, I guess. It works.
Whatever floats your boat,
Yeah. It even had things that previous games sort of didn't excel at, like teaching you how to drive and how to do neat stuff. Only the thing is that you got to the driving school like a quarter of the way, a third of the way through the game when you got booted out of the initial area out of Los Santos.
Yeah.
I also used to love climbing up the mountain with a bike or with a car or with everything I could, and then just jumping off it. And one time when I was up on the mountain, on Mount Chiliad, I think, or whatever the name is, there was a plane spawned, like flying through the air as planes would, but because I was already so high up, the plane sort of spawned at a altitude that wasn't enough for it to actually avoid the mountain, and it crashed into it. It was the funniest thing I ever saw.
Oh well. I'm looking through the radio list of San Andreas, and holy shit, the music selection is I think it's actually better than the music selection for Vice City. Not in the sense that the music itself is better, but the selection is they have way better, more well-known and good songs than the Vice City one does. And they somehow got Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus in there. They have Welcome to the Jungle.
I think some of them may have been removed in the official version that's up now on Steam because of licensing issues that expired.
It's possible, because again, back then, the music industry wasn't hip, let's say, with the gaming industry, understanding how much money they could actually make depending on how you write the contracts. But then in the hip hop area, it's like there's got Easy E, you guys, Ice Cube, It Was a Good Day. That's a perfect song for the game. That's like, wow, literally describes what happens there. And not to mention there's a bunch from Dr. J and Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
AWA. It's if nothing else, the GTA 3D series, let's call it, I guess, were a great introduction for, I'm pretty sure, a lot of gamers to quality 80s and 90s tracks.
Not to mention that.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. The music in them was perfect. This one even had David Bowie in it.
It does?
Yeah, San Andreas.
Holy shit! If it has the
And it has Billy Idol.
oh, this one has Billy Idol. Okay,
Yeah.
man. So I wasn't completely out of my mind. Okay, good. It also has Rick James, Cold Blooded. You know, cocaine.
Yeah, I remember him from the parody from the Chappelle show.
Yes.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's Billy Idol, White Wedding. Yep. Also, they have so Barracuda from Heart was. I actually heard the song and I got familiar with the song during the Guitar Hero period, but apparently it has a history of being in games before that. Interesting. I have been working for a while on an article. Well, yeah, it's an article, but I'll make it into a video about. How video games have influenced the musical culture, the musical knowledge of gamers. And obviously GTA is up there. I'm going to talk about it. But now going through the playlist, it's going to require a bit more attention than I initially thought.
It's a treasure trove of music.
It is. It's like I'm not necessarily flabbergasted, but very surprised. Willie Nelson. Dude, it has a Willie Nelson crazy. What the fuck?
It sort of started this idea of putting licensed music in this way into games, because without it, wouldn't have, like... I don't think a lot of games would have done this after it.
Possibly, you're right. But it made sense for these games to actually have music on the radio. And the fact that it had music, time appropriate, era appropriate music, made that much more sense because it helped create the atmosphere. That, like, this is what a person in that particular time would have listened to on the radio. So it makes sense. It makes sense from a movie making perspective, to be honest. So yeah, also works with games.
Yeah. San Andreas, again, I think it's the best one of them all. It's the last one that I played the most of. I played 3 the most, San Andreas, and then Vice City, and then the others, in terms of time I dedicated to them.
Well, like I said, after San Andreas, I decoupled from the GTA franchise. So it's mostly your. I mean, I tried 4. It was called 4 right after San Andreas. I tried 4, but at that time, again, my computer at the time wasn't really that capable of running it, and I was like, no, I don't need this. Fuck it. So after that, I completely lost interest. And with this latest one, whilst I understand it's a good game and whatnot, I was just not interested in the type of protagonist they chose to go with. So it was like a double whammy of, first of all, not really being interested in the franchise and not being interested in what this particular title had to offer at all.
I'm partly in the same boat as you are, because when GTA 4 came out, my PC had 1 gig of RAM, which was double what all the consoles had, but not enough to actually get the game to run because stuff would not load. And I would not get a PC that had enough RAM until many years later, and by that time I couldn't really commit to playing something like GTA 4 the way I did play GTA 3 in San Andreas or even Vice City. I just didn't have enough time. So I played for probably the least of all, like a couple of hours at best. I barely got through the first 2 missions, I think. Which is kind of a shame, because the game does try and give a very different perspective on the life of crime. It's from the point of view of an immigrant that came from our neck of the woods. Somebody who used to be in the war. And let's face it, the war around here means something that's not really super duper like, let's kill the Nazis, let's fight against... No, it's, oh look, we did an ethnic cleansing by mistake. Oh boy. Here come the bombs. it's from that perspective, and it actually took some balls to do that. Like the people at Rockstar, DMA Design, always exceed at having balls. Actually, a bit too much because apart from GTA 1 and 2, they never had any actual female playable characters in the story. Yeah. I think it maybe has too many balls.
Balls of steel.
But at least they put them in the multiplayer mode. But I couldn't really get too far into GTA 4. I have it. Like I've owned it for years and never really played much of it. But I did play 5. I finished 5 even. 5 came with three main characters, and I thought that would be a very interesting idea, interesting thing. And the characters are its best feature. Michael is what Tommy would be after he retires. Tommy Vercetti. He's washed up. He's got a family now. He's washed up. He's rich. He's bored out of his mind, and he wants to commit crimes again because he's just bored and lousy at being a family man. Like, horrible. He raised some horrible children. There's like the least developed character in the game is Franklin, who wants to get out of his not live in the house where he lives now, where he co-owns it with his aunt, which sort of treats him like garbage. And after he gets a new house, like third way through the game, his story ends. Like he doesn't have anything to do, though he does have the final decision that you make in the game is from his point of view, and it's a decision that has no reason to be there apart from, okay, now I guess you can choose to do this or that instead of, I don't know, doing neither. The game ends like it was supposed to have like 3 or 4 DLCs, but they never bother with them because GTA Online makes so much money that they don't need to make DLCs for it. And then you have the character that everybody plays in GTA, Trevor. Trevor is what we used to do when we would go around with chasing with cars with the cops, getting as much attention as possible, and then blowing everybody up and trying to hide. That's Trevor. When
isn't he a meth addict or something?
He is both a meth addict and a meth provider and a weapon smuggler. He's kind of a unhinged murderer, because the first time you meet him, he just stomps over somebody's head. Like, he just doesn't like the guy and stomps over him. He's super unstable. But he had a friend in Michael until, well, they sort of parted ways, and he thinks that Michael is dead. And he thinks that one of his friends is in jail, but he's dead as well. And he's been corresponding with them, hoping to get him out of jail one day. But the game builds up to him realizing that he's been lied to and possibly going ballistic and murdering Michael. And if that was the climax of the game, that would have been amazing. But it gets bogged down into some story about the CIA and some guy that shows up halfway through, and it just gets... It goes nowhere. It's like Seinfeld. GTA 5 story is Seinfeld. It's about the characters, not what they do. Because none of what they do actually amounts to anything. They're just horrible, horrible people.
That's valid. That's a valid description of Seinfeld, actually.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just checking. Steam, and depending. No, I don't think. Yeah, no, sorry. I was gonna say the titles are on offer, but by the time the podcast goes out, I think the offer will be ending. They're on discount.
Sale. Yeah,
they're on discount, like 65% off, which is like €3.50 per title. So they're definitely worth €3.50.
Absolutely.
But by the time the podcast will actually be uploaded, I think actually the discount will be not available anymore. But I did wishlist them, so maybe I'll get one of them and make a video and see if probably I think actually I would much rather play. I think I'd rather start with San Andreas, because that's the one that I couldn't play because of lack of computing power.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'll just get one and make a video about it and see if it gets any sort of actual
Traction.
watch time. Yeah.
Well, you may also want to give GTA 5 a try. I mean, it's in terms of gameplay, it's I think it's beneath GTA San Andreas. It doesn't give you as many options. You have, I think, less things to do, and the things you do are how should I put this? What I really liked about GTA was that you could do the missions your own way. That's what I loved about GTA 3. You apart from the moments where you were supposed to like go with a sniper rifle and aid the 8 ball or cue ball, what was the name one with the explosive on the ship. Apart from that, you're kind of free to choose your own path. In GTA 5, no, you mostly go where the game tells you and do it like the game tells you. Like its main feature was supposed to be heists. Remember the bank heist from Vice City, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's what we're going to see in GTA 5. Heists of that nature, but you got to plan them. You got to choose who went on the mission with you. You got to hire people. There's like 5 of them. They feel like there's 3 of them because some of them are kind of meh. They don't really amount to anything. Most of what you do isn't what I would call planning. You mostly do predefined missions that will let you approach it from one direction or another, and it's I don't know, it's sort of reeks of the Call of Duty style design of follow the waypoint in terms of missions, not the more freeform go crazy stuff that used to be in the old ones.
Yeah, it's something that unfortunately as in the gaming industry has been lost because there's maybe it's because of the competition, maybe it's because of the lack of shortening attention spans, but there's an acute lack of creating a game, creating a world with like plots and stuff and quests and missions and NPCs, and not telling people what they have to do. There's a lot of hand holding in as far as basically tunnel visioning them into, or railroading them, which is a term we use more in the tabletop realm, into doing things in a certain order, in a certain way. And that's something that, I mean, I understand it on a certain level, but I would also enjoy what you're talking about, because you had this expectation of what that feature could be, and it turned out to be nothing like that because they either couldn't or wouldn't.
It's more of a toned down version. It feels like it's made so that people will see a spectacle instead of making their own fun like we used to. Like instead of giving you the tools to do whatever you wanted to, they already give you something predefined that will be enough.
Yeah, exactly. So because again, maybe it's because competition, or maybe it's because I don't have that sort of patience to actually do those things. And maybe, at the scope, if you're interested in selling like GTA level numbers, then you're most likely to succeed if you go with the more streamlined approach.
Mm-hmm.
But the types of experience that you and I dream of and talk about are things that, at least for now, we can only really get in the tabletop realm.
Oh, yeah, in a way, but there was also some pushback to this. For example, Far Cry 3 was a great example of this. It was an open world game that, if you ever thought about using the open world to your advantage in any mission, it would strike you down with the wrath of God. But the fourth one didn't. The fourth one was a bit more open. Not as much as 2, but a bit more open.
Yeah, devs have always, not necessarily always, but have advertised, usually, some of their games have advertised them as being a sort of do things your own way or choose your own path or stuff like that. But in fact, in reality, it's like maybe three, maybe a bit more of valid options of doing things, and basically that's it. There's no real freedom when it comes to how you actually approach doing missions.
Yeah, especially
And
because in GTA 5, some missions are just keep behind this car until you get to the point where the cinematic triggers. That's a mission.
yeah,
That's a lot of missions in the game, actually. And a lot of missions are just get from one point to another and then trigger a cutscene.
which again, that's I don't. I imagine some of those do make sense, do make
Well,
a certain amount of sense.
They use a lot of the time that you spend driving for dialogue between the characters, and the characters are great. That's the best part of the game.
Yeah,
But none of the rest is all that super great. It's fine. Like driving through the game is fantastic. Driving through the game in first person is astonishing. Like this is a game built for VR before VR was truly a thing. It's superb.
arguably it's not a thing now either, but still,
It could be one day, someday.
yeah. I think that's what we said in the 90s. Yeah, I hear you, but doesn't I've seen reviews and obviously I looked into it, but it's not. 5 isn't. I'm most likely not gonna play 5. Most likely I'll play Vice City and or San Andreas if I am ever gonna play a GTA title ever again. Or like I said initially, Vice City rehash.
Also, there's episodes from Liberty City. It's a separate game, which is it's technically the spin-off slash expansion of 4, but it's its own game.
Cool.
Like I own all of them apart from 1 and 2. I own them all on Steam,
That's nice.
and I haven't really touched episodes from Liberty City or 4 since I got them.
Well, maybe this little talk of ours will get some GTA creative juices running.
On the other hand, I have 200 hours in GTA 5. A lot of that is spent in the multiplayer mode with Raul and Andrew and everybody else just basically crashing into each other because the game doesn't really give you that much to do. We just it has a Tron Light Cycle type race mode. The entire multiplayer looks like it was hacked together by the people that made Sump. No, by the people that would not that the people that made Sump would not work with because they weren't as good. Like
Okay.
the San Andreas multiplayer community initiative is a better multiplayer game than the one that Rockstar made for GTA 5.
Ain't that sad?
I know, it's horrible. The tracks they made literally look like the mods we used to find for GTA 3, where they made roads in the sky that you could get to through the giant ramp that somebody put in the middle of the road.
Nice.
That's how GTA 5 is made by the devs. Jesus. It's sad.
I was I think my internet was down for a bit.
He hiccuped like once or twice, but we're near the end, so I think it's okay.
Yeah, we're cool.
Well, do you have anything to add? Like, what's your expectation for the future of the GTA series? I mean, apart from it being set in Vice City, what else
I
would
don't
you
know.
want to have?
I was gonna ask you if you know anything because you're much more into the news area than I am. I mean, I follow some gaming related news, but it's one of your many jobs.
Well, the news that our mutual friend, the other Andrew, was constantly posting on Zone IT was that it was going to be set in Tokyo. We're not sure. I mean,
We're not sure?
They were scouting Tokyo at one point, I think.
Okay.
France was an option.
France.
But I think it's probably going to be set in one of their own like little things, like their own fictional universe, like Vice City, probably. But what I really like to see in the game is adding a playable female character again, because if they have that, imagine the stuff they could get away with now. Like with the GTA San Andreas, they had an African American cast.
Yeah.
And the game was written by very, very, very white British people. Remember that. They wrote the script.
Even the script.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, the stuff they got away with in that script writing is very, very pasty white British people. Imagine the stuff they could get away with by adding a female character.
Well, I don't know if getting away with it would be the proper way of approaching it. If you mean the fact that they would be able to maybe largen the scope of their player base, sure, if it's treated properly. On the other hand,
so far they have treated everything properly in the games.
On the other hand, having a female character in what is definitely a very criminal focused sort of thing would require it to be set a bit more closer to our current time. Not saying there weren't female bad people in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, but I have a feeling that it would be a bit more credible if it would be set in the current time, in the present time, due to how society has changed, even from 10 years ago, let's say, in regards to this. I think they could do that, sure. There's no reason we can have a female Kingpin. It's totally fine. I've watched some drug lord. It's called Drug Lords, the documentary on Netflix, and there is at least a bunch of really kick-ass criminals, ladies in there as well. So it's
role models.
It's not out of the. It's not gonna be a fantasy sort of thing. So it has happened, and yeah, obviously. But yeah, I don't know, because since I stopped playing after San Andreas, it's not like I have any sort of expectation or I'm really looking forward to it. It's not like it's not Fallout. GTA isn't Fallout, in as far as I'm concerned. Nothing is Fallout. But I'd like to see the comedic, what I consider to be the more comedic approach of Vice City, blended with the down-to-earthness of San Andreas, without it being this hyper-realistic, slice of life sort of. Oh, this is how shit is actually. This is basically without it being 5, because what you described in 5 is basically what we see on the news. What we see on the news, what we read about on the weird random, and also what happens in Florida a lot.
Yeah. GTA 5, everything involving Trevor is Florida man does something, because the game has the thing, it has an animation when you switch between your characters. You see what they're doing in their day-to-day life. Trevor is usually throwing somebody off a bridge, tying somebody under the pontoons at when the high tide is coming up, or conspicuously, driving a car off a cliff and jumping out of it because there's a dead body in it.
And this is just my way of seeing things. My personal preference is I use entertainment, both movies and games, as a form of escapism. I don't. We deal with real life constantly. It's there when we wake up. It's gonna be then after we go to sleep. So when it comes to movies and games, I prefer them to be not exactly like my waking life as well. So that's why I didn't really go for GTA 5 or.
Well, in that aspect, Saints Row could pick up the slack a bit for you. I mean, because Saints Row, from the third one, from the second one actually, it goes a bit nuts. Like nuts in the sense that people are insane.
Yeah, I saw that. But again, no, I think I just lost interest with that type of gaming experience, because I didn't play any of the Saints Row games because they didn't interest me.
Also, the second one had a horrible PC port that is still to this day horrible.
Isn't there one of the Saints rows when you have a dubstep gun?
That's the fourth one, yeah. When when you're president of the United States and aliens invade.
Isn't that instantly dated?
I think it was intentional.
Yeah, I imagine it is. It's not. I don't think they were trying to go with the flow or be on the trend, be trend followers or anything.
The third one has a giant purple dildo bat.
Well,
they actually have physical ones like they had in the office.
Yeah,
when the office was closed down, like you saw the lead developer of the game walking out with the dildo bat out of the office.
Man, giant purple dildo bats are always a thing, as opposed to dubstep, which, yeah, well, it's a good thing.
I just remember in the police stations in San Andreas, you would find a dildo used as a weapon.
It had, and you see, it's a bit more weird. It's a bit goofy. Yeah. So that's kind of what I would like. But even so, it would have to have some particular hooks for me to get that. Because, as you know, I tend to play indies for very valid reasons. So yeah, I'm waiting for Fallout 76.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be out soon.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I'm not in the. I'm gonna wait for a couple of months for sure. I don't think I can afford to get it initially, and it's not always a good idea either because there are gonna be bugs.
Oh, absolutely, and server performance issues.
Yeah, obviously.
You just know somebody's gonna be pissed off and DDoS it for some reason. They always are.
Even if they're not pissed off, they're going to do that because it's the internet.
Also because it's kind of a horrible idea to have it. Like, I'm not a fan of games that can be taken offline by switching off a server.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I know. That's a problem, man. But what can I? There is very little we can do. I mean, we cannot play it, sure, but then you're not going to play it, so you don't get that entertainment factor.
Yeah. Well, I guess that would be it for this hour-and-a-half podcast of GTA in general.
GTA in general, yeah, it was a solid. I think it was a solid episode. I think we took some people down the GTA memory lane and then jacked their rides,
and then loaded them up on a bus and threw them off a bridge.
A bridge of internet content.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Remember, kids, don't do the stuff you do in GTA. Do not do them in real life, unless you play like Steven did and didn't break any laws.
Yeah, that quite increases the challenge level because the game wasn't made so that you follow the laws, and it's really difficult because the cars just start up way faster than they would normally and brake way more aggressively than they would normally. So it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have anything coming up on the channel this week?
Yes, of course. As in each week, Pinky. This week I will be showing you guys and gals, hopefully, although analytics says differently. The gaming video will be about Ancestors Legacy.
Ooh.
Which is really nice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or
yes, I do.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a pretty cool game. And in the podcast realm, I'll be talking about a recent Netflix show, TV animated series. Again, I watch a lot of these apparently, called Paradise PD.
Is it good?
No, it's not. Unless you really like Family Guy. If you like Family Guy, you'll most likely it's more likely that you'll dig this.
I like isolated episodes of it, but as a series, it gets boring fast.
Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. But yeah, no, just watch what I'm gonna say about it, and that's why I make those things. so that people can be the 30 odd people that watch them or listen to them can be informed about their viewing choices.
Well,
But I do have before we go, I have a question for our listeners, because they are if they listen to this, I'm pretty sure they are within what I call the geek culture community.
Or they fell asleep on the PC.
Maybe that. But I'm curious if anyone out there is interested in internet content or content in general relating to fitness and healthy lifestyle from a geeks/my perspective and my experience with it and that sort of thing. I'm curious if there is any interest out there talking about working out, physical exercises, nutrition, that sort of stuff. I'm curious if there is any interest out there so that I can maybe try to do a couple of nonsense casts about this. So if you're interested in, just leave a comment on this video and maybe just outline a couple of the things that you might be interested in hearing about from a geek's perspective.
I have a helpful tip for that as well. If you're going to work 2 jobs, don't let them both be at the computer. You will go insane.
That's a completely different issue. But yeah. Sure,
also, you'll ruin your health.
That in general, just sitting is bad in general. Not like sitting for long periods of time. Not necessarily how we evolved to function.
I know. That's why I really hope that VR gets cheaper because, oh god damn it, I want motion controls in VR and just playing Jedi Knight like that.
You can get. You should get yourself one of those standing desks, man.
Well, I already had a hard time making this desk, so probably not. Actually, I could probably just put some bricks under it because it's big enough so that it would be stable if I put some bricks under it, I guess.
You can just make one of them, make it a standing desk. I don't know, because you can't just have it as a standing desk. A standing desk is usually you can adjust it from standing to sitting and back. So just look into that maybe a bit of. Granted, it's not like that's gonna solve all your problems or anything like that, but it simply the simple act of standing on your feet and just moving a bit, because you will move. It's not like you'll be just become a statue there. It might actually help a bit with blood circulation and prevent you getting a pulmonary embolism or something, because considering your health record,
yeah, I'm surprised I haven't had one yet.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, so if any of our listeners are interested, leave me a comment, and I'll see if there's enough interest there. I'll start making some videos about that.
Well, that'll be all of it for today. Goodbye, everybody.
See you next time.